Back in 1982, the home video game market was booming. Atari was doing fantastic with the 2600, Mattel had just come on the scene with the Intellivision, and Milton Bradley wanted to get in the game with a system of their own. But instead, we ended up with the MBX. Let's find out why here on Vintage Geek. Just a quick reminder, if you like vintage computers, peripherals, accessories, and even classic video game systems, be sure to like and subscribe. It's going to help us a lot as we grow. And I would encourage you to become a member at our website. It's at vintagegeek.com. In the early 80s, if you had a video game console in your home, chances are it was an Atari 2600 or a Mattel Intellivision system. They had become quite popular in those early years because of their wide variety of game titles and their fun gameplay for the whole family. And another company called Coleco was about to enter the market as well. Milton Bradley didn't know that in 1982 and put their entire team of resources and engineering to building their own video game system specifically for the home market. They had a lot of really ambitious endeavors in mind. They wanted to be able to have a system that could take voice control from a person, that could actually provide voice synthesis. They wanted to have actual speech capability in their games, and they wanted a full 360-degree joystick where people could move things around. Milton Bradley actually put a lot of work into their proposed system, and while I don't know what it would have been called had it ever come out, it ultimately didn't. And the reason why was because Coleco did come out with the ColecoVision in 1982. The president of Milton Bradley at the time thought that 4 systems being on the market was just too much competition and didn't see the return on investment working out for them. Now, thankfully for Milton Bradley, they already had a relationship with the computer company Texas Instruments. In fact, they had built some of the early titles for the TI-99. Milton Bradley had experience with the TI-99 also because they were involved in the engineering of the video chip for the TI-99 for a computer. Ultimately, Milton Bradley took all of their time and money that they had invested in building a new game console that would never hit market and instead put it into an expansion system for the TI-99 called the MBX, or the Milton Bradley Expander Unit. This particular system took all of the capabilities that they had intended on putting in their home video game system, including the ability to recognize speech from a human, to be able to create speech digitally via speech synthesis, and they had a 64-button control pad that could do any number of custom features, plus a 360-degree joystick with rotation capability. This was pretty big stuff at the time, and when they put this out at CES originally, there was a line of people wanting to see this device. They had a little bit of trouble getting the unit produced initially, and it wasn't until April of 1983 that they had a working unit ready to potentially go to shelves. However, it was around this time that TI-99 introduced a design change. Instead of being the two-tone silver and black like the system we have at the museum, they were switching to a new all-beige color scheme for their new models. Now, Milton Bradley wanted to make sure that their new cool gaming device looked exactly like the brand new TI-99, so they went through a brief rebranding. Their original design was black and silver like the original TI-99 4A. So they came out with the new beige design, but this took another few months to get it to market, so it wasn't until September of 1983 that the MBX officially debuted. And when it did, it really showed off some of the engineering and features that Milton Bradley put into this really cool device. Unfortunately, it was just before the video game crash where everything fell apart, the MBX was discontinued and pretty much forgotten to time. We're thankful here at the museum that we actually were able to acquire a Milton Bradley MBX system, and granted, it's not in perfect condition, but it should give us an idea of what the system was capable of and why this made a very unique gaming experience on the TI-99 4A. I want to take a quick look at the actual hardware involved. One of the most impressive pieces is the joystick itself. Now, it looks pretty standard on top. You've got your stick to move around here, but there's a big difference between this and a lot of the other joysticks that were available at the time. Most joysticks only really had 8 movements. You would have your left, right, up, and down, and then you'd have the diagonal positions that were kind of between all of those stops. This particular joystick can move any of 360 degrees all the way around. It had a lot more fine control that could be used in games. From a mechanical standpoint, that was far superior to things that were available at the time. The other thing you have with the joystick itself is that there is a rotational element at the top, and when you spin this rotational element, you could actually rotate your character or your sprite around in a 360-degree movement aside from moving it with the joystick, which is, again, a pretty cool feature that wouldn't really exist on other systems at the time. Then you've got the button capability of the system. There are 3 buttons along kind of the front side of the unit, and there's a trigger button on the underside of the joystick that you could use with your forefinger or index finger. Really kind of a clever design here. Now, interestingly, this particular design was used later when Milton Milton Bradley actually licensed this product to Atari to use for a joystick of their own. It was called something different. It did not have the rotational element at the top, but it was fundamentally the same design. This is the MBX system expansion unit itself. Now this unit's kind of interesting because A, it's what makes everything function with the system, and B, its design is meant to look like the TI-99 4A, which was the later generation and the beige model. I actually think it'd be kind of cool to see one of these in the original gray and black color scheme, although as far as I know, none of those were actually put to market. They were just used in prototype form. This box has a number of components in it. It has its own motherboard that has some of the processing circuitry. It also has a 64-button membrane type keyboard on it. Now this 64-button array was meant to use overlays that would come with the different cartridges that shipped with the system. One of the things about the MBX system is that it used proprietary games. In other words, you couldn't really use your standard TI-99 games with this system. They had to be designed for it in order to take advantage of its capabilities. There were a number of different overlays that would come with those games that would lay on top of that keyboard so they could do different functions. One of the most notable of those is the baseball game that has a number of different functions you can access directly with keys on this keypad. Also inside this unit is a speaker and the voice synthesis unit. Now you may be saying, why did they put a voice synthesis unit in it? TI-99 already had a voice synthesis adapter, and we've actually shown that on this channel. That is true. However, the speech synthesis capabilities of the MBX were far superior from what I've read to the actual TI-99 unit. Also in the unit is a built-in microphone jack on the front. This was for the headset. The funny part about the headset was that even though it had two foam pads that would go over your ears, they were not earphones at all. The only device in it was actually a microphone. That was used to take voice commands from the user to control various aspects of some of the games for the system. Also along the front are the two joystick ports where you would plug in the MBX proprietary joysticks. The system did only come with one joystick originally, and that's what we have. If you wanted to play a two-player game, you had to buy another MBX joystick separately, which I'm sure was kind of an annoyance to people that bought the system and probably paid good money for it, but at the same time, the joysticks were expensive to make, so it makes sense that that was the case. This particular unit is powered by a 9-volt power supply. We did not have the original power supply with this system, so we just used a universal one that we got off the shelf. And I think with that, we're ready to give this system a try and see what the MBX can actually do. I now have our full setup complete with the original TI-99 4A, the TI-99 4-color monitor, as well as the Milton Bradley MBX expansion system. And we have a microphone connected where the headset mic would normally connect. We did not get ours with the system. We had a generic off-the-shelf type microphone that had the right kind of connector for it. As far as games go, we have two cartridges that were made for the MBX system. The first one is a game called Honey Hunt, and this is labeled as a game for beginners. This was an early learning game. The overlay does fit over the keyboard nicely, so let's find out. Let's press any key to begin. Honey Hunt, Milton Bradley, 1983. Well, I love the music so far. There is just something special to me about the TI-99. I really like their presentation, the way everything looks so crisp and clear. We got a lot happening on the screen already. Now it says press any TI key to play. All right, so it wants me to try to land my bee on an open flower. How do I land? The spinning axis is not working. Great, you've got 10 drops of nectar. Try another flower. I don't think I did anything though. Take your nectar to the hive. Where's the hive? We are missing the top cap on the spinner part of the joystick, and I'm not sure how important that is to the actual movement of the system. It just doesn't seem like it's actually responding. Watch out for these. Ooh, spider webs. Oh no! And dragonflies. So many hazards. Bee assassins? This is getting serious. If a bear comes, go back to the hive to save your honey. We got bears too? It's tough being a bee. All right, so I'm, I guess, starting a game now. That must have just been the instructions. Got some nectar back to the hive, it looks like. Again, though, I don't think I'm actually doing anything. The joystick doesn't seem to actually be controlling anything at the moment, but it definitely seems like the game is kind of playing itself. Although sometimes it's... Oh no! Spider! I have 4 bees left. I don't think this is actually controlling it. Right into that spider web again. If I move this to the other port, well, that seems to be working a little bit better now. At least I have some control, it seems like. Grabbing that nectar. Okay, all right. Now I am able to move around with the joystick now. Getting some nectar back to the hive. What if I go to this bottom one right here? Oh, no, no! I only have 2 bees left. The trigger and everything seems to be working now though, so I'm pretty convinced that I've got the unit working. I wouldn't really consider this to be 360-degree movement though. It's barely functioning at all as far as changing direction, but that may be the age of the joystick itself. You got 120 drops of nectar. Keep on buzzing. Well, the game's very jaunty, and I do like it. I haven't really found out the advantage to having the MBX with this particular game. I guess that's all there is to this game. You're just buzzing around, getting that nectar, and getting trapped by spiders continually. Next up, we have the game that was the quintessential game for the MBX system, and the one that they spent the most time on developing. This is Championship Baseball, and it should take advantage of the full capabilities of the MBX, including the keypad, speech synthesis, and of course, the speech control function as well. I'm probably going to end up playing a baseball game with myself, which should be interesting, but let's see what it can do. Championship Baseball, Milton Bradley, 1983. Press any TI key to begin. So let's go ahead and put in Vintage. And our second player will simply be Geek. Record voice commands, press yes or no. So let's try yes. Pitcher, first, second, third, home, shortstop, left, center field, right. Now for the second player, I'm not sure if I should do the voice commands or not, or if that would actually confuse the system. I'm gonna go ahead and say no, just to avoid any confusion and not enrolling our second player in the MK Ultra for video games. I love the player movement. They're such simple characters, but the fact that you could actually see them running out is pretty cool, actually. So how do we get started here? Looks like there's several controls on the overlay for pitching, as well as I assume batting. We'll try medium, middle. Oh, well, that did work to pitch. I don't know how you bat. I have to assume, based on the colors, that I'm the one batting right now. At least the MBX version of the control, or Vintage, is the batter. But these controls work for the pitcher as well. Okay, so you can actually throw the ball to your other players using this diamond layout. That's cool. I guess I'll throw back to the pitcher, right? Maybe the joystick is for the... Aha! All right, so the joystick is the batting control. It's a pretty cool batting motion. Again, it's super simple. It's from 1983, but this looks a lot better than other baseball games that were available at the time. Yay! I hit the ball. Now, how do I move the players? The biggest problem here is, of course, playing as one player for both teams. You don't really have any reaction time to try to figure this out. Our next batter is run up to bat. Wonder if I could use the voice commands to actually do the pitching, or if that's just to actually throw the ball once you've done the batting. Let's just try, let's go ahead and give ourselves a decent pitch so we can do something. Here we go. Home run. I'll admit I was not expecting a home run on the first at-bat. The good news is that I'm winning. It really helps to beat both teams. It's really a shame that the speech synthesis is not working. I've read that that's one of the best parts of this game, is that the umpire actually yells out strike and out and all of that, which would be really cool coming from the system, but it does not seem like we're getting any audio from it at all. So I'm not sure if there's a chip that's bad in the system or what might be causing that. Well, see, he should have caught that. Pitcher. Hey, that's pretty cool. Shortstop. Center field. Very cool. I have to say, that's definitely something you would not expect to see in a game from 1983. Voice commands. Pretty cool. Another home run. I am unstoppable. Honestly, the level of depth in this game is really cool to me. I could see why the reviewers back in 1983 would be pretty darn impressed with this. Again, we're not even experiencing the actual voice synthesis coming out of the box, which was really one of the shining features of the unit, especially in Championship Baseball. It's a bit hard to say how the video game landscape would have changed if Milton Bradley would have actually come out with their actual home video game console instead of the MBX, but I do have to say that overall this is a really cool accessory for the TI-99 and definitely takes TI-99 type games to the next level. If you have any experiences with the MBX, maybe you had one of these as a kid or got to play some of the games on it, we'd love to hear from you in the comments below. But that's going to do it for our discussion of this device today. Quick reminder, if you like vintage tech like this and other peripherals, be sure to like and subscribe. It's going to help us a lot as we grow. And I would also encourage you to become a member at our website. As a member, you get discounts on museum admission, extra video clips, and code snippets and more. It's all at vintagegeek.com. Until next time, I'm Aaron, and this has been Vintage Geek.